So along the same lines, this is a message we even got sent directly to us as a support ticket, which I thought was pretty interesting. They were saying, why are people so hesitant to share their own strategies?
Mm.
The person had gone into our Discord server expecting that there would be a plethora of people just sharing their strategies, and hey, you could just pick them off the shelf, run 5 strategies, and make profit that way. Um, and it's something where you'll let me know if you've seen this, because I've seen this as a PineScript developer, where number one, people go so far as to have me sign an NDA of being like, the strategy that I have, I don't want anyone to know about. Wait, you mean that ICT strategy that you got from YouTube? You want to make sure that no one else has it as well? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because there's this idea that if other people know your strategy and run it, that invalidates your strategy, that somehow your strategy will not work anymore because either too many people are in the trade, or people are going to be taking the opposite side. And which can be true in certain types of positions, or given if you had a large audience, or something like that, or people trading with size in low liquidity environment. But I was wondering about what your take is, why people hold their strategies like close to the vest.
So I might have a different take here. Number one is like, I think we need to do a little bit of an ego check when we find ourselves in these positions. You're not Renaissance Technologies. You are not a quant firm that has some particular informational or analytical edge on the market. You're more than likely just playing around with settings within an indicator in TradingView, and those settings can be found by basically any machine learning algorithm, any type of quant setup out there. All the information you have available to you is the same information that everyone has available to them. So your dialing in of the settings isn't necessarily the thing that gave you the edge. The thing that gives you the edge on the market is consistency and showing up and using the same type of approach and managing your risk. And the way you trade your portfolio is going to make a dramatically big difference in terms of how other people trade their portfolio. So my take on this is that, at least for me, I'm not interested in sharing strategies necessarily unless they're for information and like, hey, here's how I've used code to solve this problem. But I really just don't want to play strategy manager, if you will, because the moment you write a strategy and put it out there, people are going to be asking you to make updates to it. Where are we at? Like what's the performance now? Can you make some tweaks to this? I think the sharing aspect of this should be that I'm sharing how I view markets. I'm sharing how I'm writing this code, but I'm encouraging you to take this and do this for yourself. And maybe there is some sense of pressure to, kind of have to keep staying on top of it. But we're not necessarily trying to take the role of hedge fund manager here, or portfolio manager. We're just sharing a way the system works. So I think what happens is the expectation that people have is that if I share a strategy, well, then it must be a performing strategy. What's the win rate? I want the win rate over this, and I want the profit factor too to be over two. Can you go back and tweak this a little bit? What if you made this change? And then I think that's that pressure that comes from writing a strategy and having to manage it after that probably keeps some people from sharing some of it. Because it then becomes an expectation. But I highly encourage people to at least show how you've solved certain problems. How did you deal with reversals? How did you deal with consolidations? How do you deal with stop losses? You don't necessarily have to share your entire thesis or what indicators you use or what markets you trade, but there are problems that we all face within markets that I think are worth sharing for sure.
Yeah, so that's what the backtesting and PineScript channels that we have on Discord are pretty good for that, where people will tackle the small problem, like how would you do this, how would you solve that. But I think if they're anything like me, it's sort of like, if it's sort of like the reason when I used to work in offices, I didn't want to buy lottery tickets as birthday presents for colleagues or friends or family, because nothing would make me feel worse than if somebody else won with something that I made. Something that I set up. It would just drive me absolutely crazy if someone was like, I gave a strategy to somebody else, and they're like, oh, I tweaked it a little bit, and now I compounded, 100, doubled my portfolio value in the last 5 months. That's enough for me to like lose all the love I have for trading. I
I
require
I
others
think
to lose for me to win.
I think that narrative sort of brings you back to my original point, though. Just because somebody figured out how to double their account with your strategy doesn't mean that you would necessarily have exactly the same results if you use the same tweaks to the indicator. Again, some part of it is there's timing luck, and then there's also like how much risk did they take in order to achieve that goal. It's possible that they traded 3 NQ contracts to double their account that quickly, and maybe you're not the type of person who has an appetite for that kind of risk.
Yeah, so that's what would bother me, that they
Right.
figured out a way of doing it.
And they were willing to take substantial
That's right.
risk. Yeah.
That's right. But still, user, if anyone's here watching it and you have your strategy you want to share and you want to post it onto the Discord group, I'm sure other people will gladly
Yeah.
give you feedback on it.
I think I do want to encourage more of that, and I need to do more of that myself too. I have the updates that I need to make to the 855 strategy and the high low. I've had several requests for that kind of thing, but I want to break down like why it's not really the idea of the strategy that matters. It's what parts of the strategy are connected to Traders Post in a way that makes it functional. That I really want to break down. I'm hoping would be useful to people, and I think components like that are useful within our community.
I can't believe how many tickets and messages I saw recently of people asking for your 855
I
strategy.
know it's suddenly very popular again. I don't know what happened. It was like nobody cared about it for a year, and now all of a sudden I'm getting like 50 or 15, 20 different requests to update it.